In a holiday season full of concerts and plays and gatherings, there was one that stands out to me. We're radio people, so we love to hear that the Depot Theater is doing an old-time radio-style version of A Christmas Carol, with sound effect people on stage and everything. That's today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Pearsall Wealth Management at UBS Wealth Management USA, subsidiary UBS AG, member FINRA SIPC, 1 Broad Street, Glens Falls.
Hey, I'm David Summerstein. It's Thursday, December 18th. First up, the St. Regis Mohawk Tribal Council is calling for a vote of no confidence for the superintendent of the Salmon River School District. Photos of a padded wooden crate the size of an elementary schooler spread on Facebook Monday and drew outrage from parents and community members. Salmon River Superintendent Stanley Harper originally said in response that box wasn't used to discipline children at the Salmon River Elementary School or the St. Regis Mohawk School, which is a part of the district. But at a board meeting last night, Harper admitted 2 other windowless boxes were used as a timeout discipline technique. According to North Country Now, he said they had been in use for up to several weeks. He said they had since been taken apart and removed. In a statement, the St. Regis Mohawk Tribal Council called the boxes inhumane and said their use showed gross mismanagement and overarching broad operational failures. The tribal chiefs called for the school board to declare no confidence in Harper and his leadership. They also called for an independent investigation into the matter. The incident is particularly sensitive because of a painful part of Mohawk and Indigenous history. In the 1900s, thousands of Native children were forced to go to residential schools, where they were often tortured. According to the Albany Times-Union, the state education department told the school to stop placing children in seclusion and said it will send representatives to visit the school this week. One of the North Country's longtime state assembly members is retiring. Republican Ken Blankenbush announced today in Lowville he's stepping down at the end of the year. Blankenbush was first elected to the 117th district seat in 2010. He represents a sprawling district from Messina to the Syracuse suburbs. It includes much of St. Lawrence County, the Tug Hill Plateau, and Fort Drum. Blankenbush is an Air Force veteran who served in Vietnam. At his press conference, Blankenbush endorsed his chief of staff, Tammy Nabawandiak, who's running for the seat. According to WWNY-TV, former Oneida Housing Authority Director Bob Walters is also interested in the position, as is Lonnie Coons, a combat veteran and trucker from Carthage. They're all Republicans in a district that tilts heavily for the GOP. This Sunday, the Depot Theater in Westport is revisiting the classic tale of Mr. Scrooge in A Christmas Carol. But instead of presenting it as a traditional play, it'll be a radio-style performance at the Waylandsburg Grange. Emily Russell spoke with Gigi Mason, who's co-directing the play.
As a radio-style play, it's not choreographed or blocked, meaning that the actors will sit on stage and come up to a microphone when it's their turn to talk. And most of the actors will have a few different parts to play.
That he knew how to keep Christmas better than any other man. May that truly be said of all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed,
God bless us, everyone.
We also use live Foley artists, so we have folks who do all the sound effects using all kinds of cool, different, everyday things you would find in your house. And we put them right on stage, too, because the audience loves watching them as much as they love watching the action on stage.
What's an example of a sound effect that is being made right there on stage during the play?
Sure. So if you know the show, you know that several ghosts visit. So one of the ghosts has a signature where you hear he's chained. So we have heavy chains that we bang on the floor for him. The show is during the evening, overnight, right before Christmas, and it's very windy. So we use sheets of aluminum to portray the wind. We use keys, we use slippers to make the sounds of Scrooge moving across the floor. So that's just some of them.
So you're co-directing this performance. How is it different directing a radio play versus, a play where actors are actually moving around the stage and physically acting things out?
Well, it's funny because it's easier in some ways and harder in others. It's easier because we don't have to have actors learn blocking and learn when to move across the stage and how not to upstage the other person and how to have a good conversation. But it's more challenging because we want the same feel of all of those characters happening. So, what we really want to focus on is a person's voice, the way they use their voice and their vocal intonation. So that's what we focus on at the rehearsal. We only have one rehearsal and then we do it. So it's super fun in that way.
What is it about the Christmas Carol story that makes it work for a radio style performance?
I think one of the great things about A Christmas Carol is a lot of it is happening in Stooge's mind, right? Or some people think he's actually seeing things, but it's bringing to mind different characters, different parts of his past, what he's thinking about for the future. And I think a radio style play lends itself really well to that because I think it's harder to actually perform that on a stage in real life with real life actors coming in and out of the scene. You're already in his mind's eye when the play starts. So I think it really lends itself well to that. And it's such a timeless story of hope and how to forgive yourself and to really know that no matter what's happened in your life, you can always change and turn things around and make things better and move forward. So the message at Christmas time, I think, couldn't be better.
Both the Depot Theater in Westport and the Waylandsburg Grange, I feel like they host so many of these kinds of community arts events. What do you think it is about that part of the Champlain Valley and those two institutions that really inspire these kind of like artistic supportive endeavors?
I haven't had an opportunity to live in many places, so I don't really know how to compare it to other places. But what I can tell you is that our area is a thriving artistic community. People come, you build it and they come. And not just theater events, the music and art events in the area are just, it's kind of astounding to me that there's that many in this area. And I think it's one of the reasons why so many people are so happy here and want to live here. It's just such an overall enhancement of your life to be able to do all these different types of arts activities.
Is there any kind of like particular moment or little message from the Christmas Carol play that is really meaningful to you this time of year?
There's a lot of them,
Mm.
but first of all, in A Christmas Carol, there's a family, the Cratchit family, that can't rub two pennies together. But the amount of love and respect that they have for each other is immeasurable. And I think this time of year, it's a time for everyone to really reflect on family and to take a moment and really cherish the family that we have and to have gratitude for that. So those moments in the play are really important. I, of course, love kids and I love doing youth activities for the depot. And we have several kids in the performance who are just adorable and do a great job. And I also really love the moment when Scrooge realizes that it's not too late, that it's morning, it's Christmas morning, it's not too late, that he can going forward have a future full of family and love. And every year that moment really, really just resonates with me and I'm really with the audience as well, I think.
You have been listening to the radio dramatization A Christmas Carol, written by Philip Grecian, based on the novel by Charles Dickens and presented by the Depot Theater. And so, good night, happy holidays, and Merry Christmas.
That was Gigi Mason speaking with Emily Russell. Mason is co-directing the Christmas Carol radio play with Amy Fitz. Sunday's performance at the Waylandsburg Grange is free and open to the public. It begins at 3 o'clock. Music today by Martha Gallagher of Keene and Susan Murphy of Ithaca. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.